Hey. Sorry, yeah.
I think your calculation in home is broken.
No, I just checked my weight in the test because I was 61.2 or 3. Lo que peso 63 kilos.
Claro, que le gusta mucho precisar, le gusta mucho usar de la oficina.
¿Quién?
Así, otra está todo el día comiendo.
Esto viene de casa, tío.
Sí, ¿no? Corporación, como Vicentín. Tío, y va a Superbike, creo.
Well, it's a very good afternoon to you and welcome to the Losail International Circuit here in Qatar. We are back. 2021 finally begins, of course, in action tomorrow, where we will do the big intro, but it's fantastic to be back, and we've got the traditional class group photos taking place now with Moto3, Moto2, and I'm delighted to say MotoGP this year as well. The whole team are back with you. I'm Steve Day, joined in the commentary box by Matt Burt, Simon Crafar down in pit lane. Matt, it's good to be back.
It really is good to be back, mate. Yeah, a long winter, of course, with the some of the pre-season testing disrupted by the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. But finally, yes, a double-header to look forward to here in Qatar to hopefully kick off what promises to be an incredible 2021 World Championship campaign across all three classes.
Of course, we still face restrictions. The pandemic has not gone away, but it is mighty good to start this World Championship here in March. Of course, last year we didn't properly get going until July. We were here, Matt, in Qatar just over a year ago, but it was only Moto3, Moto2 to play on that night, and I don't think any of us were really aware of what was to come.
No, that condensed, shortened season, as you said, Steve, starting in Jerez in mid-July. 14 MotoGP races. We were treated to some incredible action, of course. Big stories throughout. Marquez sidelined after a crash in the very first Grand Prix. A new world champion in Suzuki colours in Joan Mir. And we'll have a new world champion in Moto3 in 2021. The top 5 men have all jumped up to Moto2 next year. Albert Arenas, Tony Arbolino, Ayagura, Ralph Fernandez, who's really caught the eye in pre-season testing, and Celestino Vietti. The smart money, no great surprise at the moment, going on the man who was best of the best, I guess you could say, Jaume Masia, 6th in the World Championship last year, who looked very strong, Steve, in the pre-season test that took place here just a few days ago.
Yes, there's a few riders that have changed teams, Jaume Masia being one of them, of course. He's now part of the Akiaio setup in Red Bull colours. He looked very strong in the winter tests here just a few days ago, the pre-season tests. 6th, 7th and 8th in the championship last year, Matt. As you mentioned, unsurprisingly, the top 3 favourites. John McPhee also staying with a Petronas Sprinter Honda team. And Darren Binder, of course, the South African younger brother of Brad, the hotshot in KTM in MotoGP. Darren also joins John McPhee in that team now. But I mean, in general, Matt, when you look across the board here, there's some big opportunities for some new names, some familiar faces to perhaps try and challenge for a World Championship.
Yeah, and some new names really caught the eye against the established elite, shall we say, in Moto3 during that pre-season test. Jaume Masia's new Red Bull KTM IO teammate Pedro Acosta. He was second on the timesheets on his first visit to this famous Losail International Circuit. And keep an eye as well on Gas Gaviota Aspire rider coming to replace the world champion Albert Arenas, Izan Guevara. Many tipping him for a bright future in the World Championship. The current junior world champion, he was 4th fastest, just a 16 years of age, Izan Guevara. Very impressive start to his World Championship career just a few days ago.
Yeah, the trio of Spaniards that have made their way into this World Championship, they don't half know how to make a decent rider, don't they? Off the conveyor belt, as Matt mentioned, Guevara, Acosta, and also Xavier Artigas, who we have seen, of course, play out in Moto3 before. His one and only race back in the end of 2019 in Valencia, he was on the podium. So
and
there he is, in fact.
Yeah, right on cue.
He's a tall lad, very tall.
There are some big lads in this Moto3 World Championship. You can see Philip Salach, he's certainly not going to have shrunk over the winter. John McPhee just waiting to find out where he's got to form up on the grid for this special lineup photo, the Moto3 Classic Group photo. Big year for John McPhee, of course, now the most experienced rider in this Moto3 category, not just in terms of age, but also Grand Prix appearances as well. And the team, Petronas SRT Sprinter Racing, they say it's now or never for John McPhee. He has to minimum be inside that top 3 come Valencia in November, if he's got aspirations, as of course he has, of making that step up into their Moto2 team next year. The good thing for McPhee, of course, is with the greatest respect to Kylian Pauwi, he's not really had a teammate pushing next to him over these last couple of seasons. That will change this year. The South African Darren Binder, who's got eyes on a big Moto2 ride himself next year, that's going to be spicy competition down in that garage this year, Steve.
It really is, yeah. You just mentioned experience, of course. We're seeing two men on screen that also come into this one, much like John McPhee, their 10th season in Grand Prix racing. We just saw there Romano Fenati, of course, the most successful rider in Moto3 in terms of podiums and race wins. And then you've got also Nico Antonelli. What a big year it is for the 25-year-old now. Can you believe Nico Antonelli is 25? He switches teams for this year and joins Avintia Esponsorama KTM.
Yeah, you just wonder whether perhaps a change of scenery might just reignite Antonelli. It looks like it might have just stagnated a little bit in that 658 Quadricorta project. Not his fault, not the team's fault. It just didn't really click, did it? I mean, who would have thought when he had that famous victory, the Spanish Grand Prix of 2019, that would be not just the last time he won, but the last time he actually stood on a Grand Prix podium as well. So success long overdue for Nico Antonelli.
Just see there, Darren Binder, of course. Expectations will be higher coming into this year, moving into a race-winning team like Petronas Sprinter Racing, but it doesn't look like it's affected him in any way, shape or form. He is still, without a shadow of a doubt, I think he's challenging his brother Brad and Franco Morbidelli for the most laid-back walk in the paddock.
Yeah, I mean, he is such a likeable character, Darren Binder, and you can just get the sense from him in this team. He's gelled with the team very quickly, and more importantly, he's gelled immediately with that Honda. I think there are a few question marks with this shortened pre-season, how long it would take him to make the adjustment from the KTM to the Honda. It's been a seamless transition for Binder. He did a very, very impressive race simulation here on the last night of the test as well. And as we just mentioned, McPhee and Binder, they're going to be pushing each other hard, and they're going to be big, big players, big contenders in this year's championship chase.
So there are the two now Avintia Esponsorama riders, KTM, Nico Antonelli, a race winner here, of course, in Qatar back in 2016, and his teammate, Carlos Tatai, who will continue to run the number 99. He's looking for a big season here this year. Just struggled to really get himself properly on the radar last year. They're the new Gresini colours, of course, and this is probably an apt time just to send and pay our best respects to Fausto Gresini, Matt. Terrible and tragic news just before the start of this season's campaign.
Yeah, awful. Unfortunately, Fausto Gresini succumbing to complications from the COVID-19 coronavirus. Our thoughts and prayers continue to go out to, of course, all of the family, friends and colleagues of Fausto Gresini. Was a fantastic servant to this World Championship, not just as a great rider, a 2 times 125cc World Champion, but the work he did behind the scenes, particularly for young Italian talent. You know, this is a team boss who's got entries in Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP, the FIM Moto2 World Cup, and it's just such tragic news to have lost one of MotoGP's real great characters.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. Couldn't have put it better myself. Very, very sad, and I'm sure his riders will be looking to do him proud here this season. You can see there Gabriel Rodrigo at number 2. Just well, he's got an enormous season ahead of him, the 24-year-old Matt. 3 top 5 finishes in the end last year. It's now 103 Grand Prix and just the 1 podium to his name. And you would say, in a team like Gresini, as you just mentioned, with the history, with the traditional winning in this class, he's got to be getting himself on the top step of that podium a few occasions here this year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few riders in this championship this year. We mentioned a couple already. It's make or break for me, for Gabriel Rodrigo. You know, when you're in that Team Gresini outfit, they are accustomed to success. They're accustomed to winning and fighting for the World Championship. Gabriel Rodrigo did not do that last year. Like Steve just mentioned, he's over 100 appearances now into his Grand Prix career, 24 years of age. You kind of feel like it's now or never territory for Gabriel Rodrigo. The good news is, saw some comments he made over the course of the last few days about the test. Said he's never come into a season feeling as confident with his motorcycle as he has done. So fingers crossed for Rodrigo fans. That bodes well for a somewhat better 2021 ahead.
Yeah, indeed. He'll be teaming up, as he did last year, with Jeremy Alcoba next to him, of course, who picked up the podium right at the end
and that
of
will
last
not
year.
be an easy task keeping Alcoba at bay, will it, Steve? I mean, he finished brilliantly in Portimao, front row, and then a great podium. And we do know, we saw it on occasion last year, he's not shy in the battle, is he?
He's got a move in him, hasn't he? Jeremy Alcoba. You just see there new colours as well for the Bo Alride KTM team. Riccardo Rossi staying put, number 54, and we just saw there Stefano Neppa standing in to take the place of Ryosei Yamanaka. Sorry, not Ryosei Yamanaka. It's just worth pointing out, by the way, Neppa, he got a flurry of point-scoring finishes last year. Thoroughly deserves his shot again in the world. Snipers team, of course, Tony Arbolino has moved up into Moto2. So Philip Salac on screen there is joined by another veteran, I suppose you could call him, in Moto3, and Andrea Migno.
Yeah, Andrea Migno, what, 25 years of age now, had a difficult season. Last year, only a couple of top 6 finishes in the 15 Grand Prix, nothing going really since a pretty respectable 5th place in Le Mans. And Philip Salac, of course, it's been a while since we've actually seen him in the saddle. Missed the last couple of Grand Prix, a pretty bruising crash in that second clash in Valencia back in November. So good to see Philip Salac fighting fit. I do recall this time last year, he was super strong in the pre-season winter test here, the 19-year-old Czech rider. Much will be expected of him, of course, now in that River Cold Snipers team honour, I guess you could say, with their talisman Tony Arbolino moving up to Moto2. Very exciting prospect seeing Arbolino in the Liqui Moly project alongside Marcel Schrotter.
You can probably hear from our cameras there and just see from on the grid, there has been a breeze here for weeks now, including the MotoGP test, of course, where it was very dusty. Moto2 and Moto3 also on a couple of nights it was particularly windy, but it is really hot. The last couple of days here at the Losail International Circuit, Matt, has felt like almost unbearable to stand out in for too long.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started coming here back in 2004, we were here in September and it was unbearable. I mean, you could literally fry an egg in pit lane. And of course, we're here for 2 races, one of them being in early April, so the temperature's only going to start rocketing here in Qatar, so it's going to be very much a mentally and physically demanding start to this 2021 campaign.
This time in 24 hours, we'll already be midway through Moto3 free practice 1. Just a quick reminder for you at home of that. The local time here in Qatar, it will be 13:50, 10 to 2 local time when we kick things off with Moto3 tomorrow, and then at 20 to 4 local time. For the first time since 2019, we will see free practice 1 for the Premier class here under the night lights. Well, not quite at that time, but close to.
And isn't it incredible to think 2018 and 2019, a couple of absolute barnstorming MotoGP races, and the entertainment provided predominantly by Andrea Dovizioso and Marc Marquez, and at the moment, sadly, neither of them part of the 2021 MotoGP grid. That's going to change certainly in the case of Marc Marquez. It may well change in the case of Andrea Dovizioso. Watch this space, folks, over the next few weeks.
Indeed so. These are your candidates then for the 2021 FIM Moto3 World Championship. On the front row there, someone's lost a mask. There is McPhee, Darren Binder, Pedro Acosta there in Red Bull colours, alongside his new teammate Jaume Masia.
You've got to say, on paper, those 2 men there, big favourites coming into this championship. Petronas Sprinter Racing. It's a vastly experienced lineup in terms of Moto3 field, and they've got big expectations. They expect both of their men to be fighting for the podium on a consistent basis, week in, week out. Do not take your eyes off that Malaysian camp this year.
Just to add slightly to the confusion this year, certainly for us in the commentary box, you'll be able to see a couple of rows back on the right there, also in exactly the same Red Bull KTM colours, are the Tech 3 riders, Ayumu Sasaki and Dennis Sonju. That might cause a little bit of confusion, certainly in this room, over the space of the season.
Well, we did a bit of spotting, didn't we, on the last night of the test, mate? We wandered out to the fast right-handers, last couple of corners here as well, just to try and get a glimpse of the new liveries, the new riders, and more importantly, the new numbers as far as the Red Bull KTM operation are concerned. There is Xavier Artigas. A memorable one and only Grand Prix appearance for him at the back end of 2019. He comes into this Grand Prix defending a 100% podium record. Does the highly rated Spanish teenager, of course, on the podium in that Valencia 2019 Grand Prix, and highly rated by the Leopard Honda team, partnering Dennis Foggia. Leopard Honda, very underwhelming season for them by their normal standards last year, wasn't it? Foggia and Masia, their title challenge, never really got going, although Masia, having had those wins in both Aragon races, then his championship charge just completely fell apart. He's going to have to put up a much more consistent threat this year.
We should just point out, of course, if you're thinking to yourself, is someone missing, is someone late? There is, of course, only one rider sporting the colours of the 658 Quadricorsa Honda here at this moment, of course, and that's rookie Frenchman Lorenzo Fallon. Tatsuki Suzuki, unfortunately, absent from the pre-season test here a few days ago, having tested positive for COVID-19. Now, we are keeping everything crossed, Matt, that he is going to be able to arrive here ready for action for tomorrow. But as it stands, as we sit here right now live from the Losail International Circuit, I can honestly say I'm not 100% sure if that's going to happen yet.
Yeah, and Tatsuki Suzuki, that will be a loss, because you do know his form and his pedigree. He'd be a race-winning contender here on Sunday night in the season opener.
Who are you picking then, Matt? Who's your favourite? I mean, it seems pretty obvious on paper that there's probably one of three that stand out. Jaume Masia, many people's favourites.
For me, I can't really split that three that you mentioned at the start of the programme, mate. John McPhee, Darren Binder and Jaume Masia. But just, if you really, really push me, and I hate to say this going against a couple of guys who are absolute class acts, I'm going to have to stick my hard-earned on young Masia.
Yeah, it's very difficult, isn't it, to look away from Jaume Masia. It just seems like the stars aligned a bit at the end of the season for him with those brilliant wins in Aragon. How would he cope with the pressure? That's the big question, because walking into Aki Ayo's team has not always worked out well for some riders.
What he did say, he made a big point of this just at the end of the pre-season testing, where he said, I've got to be, the target is, yes, fight for the championship, but to do that, I've got to make sure I'm top 5 every weekend. Sometimes he can be a bit of a yo-yo rider, can't he, Jaume Masia? If he has bad days, it's not inside the top 6, or it's even worse. I mean, he did make a point as well, got to cut out some of the unforced errors that dogged his season last year. I mean, what was it, 4 DNFs? There were 5 DNFs as well for John McPhee. I mean, McPhee didn't finish a third of the races last year. That's a crash count and a DNF count, which is going to have to be at least half to get him in that championship picture.
Yes, absolutely right. There is Max Koffler, of course, CIP Green Power KTM. He's joined by Kaito Toba this year, of course, the race winner here 2 years ago in Moto3. A big year for the Japanese rider. It's funny, you know, when you look at the two Petronas Sprinter riders around the paddock at this moment in testing, Darren Binder and John McPhee look like long-lost brothers themselves. They're so pally, they're so friendly, they're laughing, joking, even now on the grid. You just wonder, don't you, when the lights go out, how long this beautiful blossoming romance is going to last for.
Sorry, are we keeping you up there, Nicolo? Having a good yawn at the back of the grid? Yeah, Darren Binder and John McPhee have not always had that kind of cordial relationship, have they? Cast your minds back to Buriram 2019, when dive bombed Darren, did his dive bombing and went in heavy, wiped out a couple of riders. Apparently, John McPhee has said they've always actually got on really well off track. They've always been pretty good buddies. It's just sometimes he's felt perhaps Darren's overstepped the mark a little bit on track. But I've got to say, last year, Binder really matured, and he rode much cleaner and certainly much more faster. He's the real deal now. He's the much more mature, rounded package, and there's no way you can discount him out of a championship battle.
It does look like being as well a particularly great year for the rookies We mentioned them at the very start of this, and I think it's well worth pointing out. Every now and again, you get the odd rookie that comes in and takes podiums very quickly, and it just has that feeling about it with the likes of Guevara, Acosta, and Artigas. Ethan Guevara, in particular, Matt, comes into this with this stunning record. European Talent Cup champion in 2019 as a rookie, Junior World Champion 2020 as a rookie.
Yeah.
You know, if he bursts onto the scene here and does... I mean, he'd never, ever seen Qatar before and was immediately up to speed. Seriously
impressive. I mean, clearly, he's been brought into the World Championship by a legend, Jorge Martinez Aspar, for a reason. They think he's ready. At the tender age of 16, they think that he can come in and do a job immediately. Pedro Acosta as well ran riot in the Red Bull Rookies MotoGP Cup last year. What it does prove, this grid, the boys that you're looking at right now, the Road to MotoGP programme is working absolutely spectacularly. Red Bull Rookies MotoGP Cup champions, Junior World Cup champions. So many of these young men have come through the Asia Talent Cup system as well. The Road to MotoGP programmes are just providing us with an endless production line of talent.
Does seem odd, doesn't it, to look at the Moto3 grid, Matt, not see a Sky VR46 team, of course, the first year without them in the introduction class.
Yeah, they're focusing their attentions, of course, on Marco Bezzecchi and Celestino Vietti, who was in this battle in Moto3 last year. They have still got some involvement in this class, of course, with Nicolo Antonelli. He's still very much part of the VR46 Academy back in the Tavulia Hills overlooking Misano.
Yeah, Minio as well, still very much part of the Academy. Also, strange not to see the Estrella Galicia team here. Of course, they stepped down from World Championship action, but there's more than enough riders on this grid to give us great entertainment as we have year in, year out in Moto3. And also, we should just point out as well, we've got Adrian Fernandez, who's now going to be a permanent rider. That's the third Fernandez in the World Championship right now. If we could just stop that there, that would come in very, very handy for us here in the commentary box.
Yes, and older brother Raul Fernandez has already started to pull up trees big style in Moto2. What a sensational official test he had here last week. Regularly inside the top 5, challenging for the top 3. Keep an eye on Raul Fernandez, who ended the 2020 Moto3 World Championship as the undisputed dominant force. I mean, that victory he had in Portimao was, I think, the biggest winning margin in a Moto3 Grand Prix since Jorge Martin destroyed the field in Aragon in 2018. And that momentum, that form, that confidence that Raul Fernandez picked up towards the back end of last year, boy, has he carried that on already into 2021. And a lot of people, Steve, are saying, actually, Raul Fernandez, they would not be surprised a rookie in Moto2 winning the first Grand Prix on Sunday night, which is a big statement.
Wouldn't bet against it at the moment on what we saw at the test. Just saw Romano Fenati there amongst some of this new blood in the championship. He's starting to look a little bit old compared to these guys. He's almost 10 years older than the youngest rider in this class now.
Well, who could forget, right here in Doha, 2012, his debut in the World Championship, second. That's when he really announced himself on the world stage. It's fair to say there's been a few curveballs, a few trials and tribulations since then, but slowly but surely Romano Fenati is rebuilding his career as part of the Stellargarda Max Racing team Husqvarna, although he's going to have to find himself much more of a consistent podium threat than he was last year. He just really struggled for consistent form, didn't he, Fenati? I mean, the outstanding moment, of course, was that famous victory in Misano too, but the highlights, other than that, you've got to say, were few and far between.
That is another interesting candidate right on our screen there as well. We've been talking up the rookie Ethan Guevara, but also riding for the Gas Aspar team, Sergio Garcia. Now, he's got absolutely no problems if we've got a Grand Prix in Valencia, of course, his home GP, but the inconsistencies of last year, Matt, were there for all to see. This is a huge, huge year as he steps into the World Championship winning team.
He really is. What is it, 3 podiums? All in Valencia, or 4 podiums, 3 in Valencia. He certainly loves home turf, but it is a big year, particularly when he's got a novice rookie teammate alongside him who's already started to show that he's thoroughly deserving a place in the World Championship.
It's a similar situation for Dennis Foggia over in Leopard Honda as well, with Artigas coming in hungry, looking to try and get off with a bang. Dennis Foggia also, much like Sergio Garcia, from time to time sprinkles in a bit of magic.
He does.
Fantastic win, of course, in Brno last year, but then just seems to go missing for large chunks of the season. And when you're riding for Leopard Honda, they'll be expecting far better of him this year.
Last year, they didn't cut it, did they, with Masia and Foggia? But Foggia finished last year in sensational fashion. Was he on the podium in Portimao? I need to check this. He was on the podium, but I'm pretty sure he had a double long lap penalty, didn't he?
He did, yeah. That
Which
was a bizarre
just
race,
absolutely
wasn't it?
incredible. It was a bizarre race, not least the fact that the championship was on the line. Albert Arenas, for those last 2 or 3 laps, talk about wild child and throwing caution to the wind. I mean, my heart rate's only just come down from those last couple of laps in Moto3 in Portugal.
Yeah, that was madness, wasn't it? Raul Fernandez absolutely screaming away to take a fabulous victory. Here come the Moto2 riders ready for their photo shoot. They'll be putting the leathers on last minute because, as we mentioned, it is rather warm here.
Jake Dixon just about to do a stint at third slip for the England cricket team by the looks of it.
Yes, I happened to take the mickey out of Jake's hat the other day before realising that apparently it's his own brand of clothing, so it's something he's actually...
Sensible headwear for this kind of weather. So, you know,
well, I tell you what, I think we should maybe get one for you, Matt.
Well, my need is greater than most people's in the paddock. Certainly greater than Jake Dixon's or yours.
I wasn't thinking from a safety point of view. I'd just like to get a photo of it. So the Moto3 riders then make their way off the grid. The next time they make their way onto the grid, of course, it will be for free practice 1 here tomorrow to kickstart the 2021 season. Dennis Onju is ready. The 2 Red Bull Tech 3 riders, big years for them as well. They could be forgiven for 1 or 2 moments last year. There they are, in fact, on screen, Sasaki and Onju. They will be expected to feature on the podium regularly. There is Darren Binder and his teammate John McPhee. The 2021 Moto3 class group photo then is done. It's now time for business to start. The 2 Honda Team Asia riders as well. Andy Izdihar moves down from Moto2. Yuki Kuni, in his 2nd full season, will be expected to finish in the points. And Dennis Foggia as well. The Rocket, can he charge forward and make a name for himself in Moto3? We'll stop for now. We'll be back in a moment with the Moto2 photo.
Yeah. One of them times that you're all... Can you hand me the helmet? Nice, huh? Yeah, it looks good in the pictures. I've seen the ones that made it for Yeah, I do. Ah sì, non ce non lo sapevo. Chiuso il reputa. No, questa è proprio di Sta Macaulay ahí. I gotta go. I have to go back to America now. Yeah, because I was set to go back. Right, but for us it's difficult, eh? It's not a lot you can do. Hey, I wish I could go like 3 weeks here. Ah.
Free as well, is it? Yeah. Easy this bit.
Welcome back to the Losail International Circuit then, ready for the 2021 Moto2 World Championship class group photo. As ever, every year, I feel like we say the same thing. It's the most competitive Moto2 World Championship to date, and yet it just feels like it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Some really interesting names in the intermediate class this year. The top 5 from Moto3, including this man, Tony Arbolino, have all moved up. Many of them looking pretty handy. On paper, Matt, it looks like there are 3 riders who probably just leap out at you. The likes of Sam Lowes, of course, who had a fantastic season last year, finishing 3rd overall, Marco Bezzecchi and Remy Gardner. But in reality, the strength and depth in field in Moto2 this year, you look and there's going to be some handy riders that won't even score points here in a few days' time.
This is a field deep in exceptional talent. There's one of them. We welcome back to the World Championship, I guess you could say. Of course, he has World Championship experience way back in 2009 when he was a 125cc rider, teammate to none other than Marc Marquez. Cameron Beaubier, 5 times Moto America Superbike champion, a double-pronged American assault on the Moto2 World Championship this year, of course, coming into this intermediate World Championship battle with Joe Roberts, who really established himself as a top 6 contender throughout last year. But as Steve just mentioned, this is a high caliber, high quality Moto2 entry in 2021.
Yeah, really respect Cameron Beaubier for giving this one a shot, you know, given how successful he's been over in the United States. You could argue and make a claim for saying, you know what, you could probably stay there, earn a great deal of money, continue winning, but he wanted the challenge. He's come over here to try and test himself against the world's best in Moto2, and it's great to see another rider from America featuring in the World Championship again.
And this is a completely different Cameron Beaubier. He's 28 years of age now, joining the Tenor American racing team, actually replacing the outgoing American Joe Roberts. Back then he was a fresh-faced teenager, I think by his own admission, not quite ready for the stresses and the strains of being a World Championship rider. It was in a high-profile team, Rebel KTM, alongside, as we said, none other than Marc Marquez, a team actually managed by Francesco Guidotti, of course, who's now boss of the Pramac Ducati team in MotoGP. But yeah, great to see him back, having another crack at it.
The Elf Mark VDS team, much more burgundy on the bikes here this year. Number 22, Sam Lowes. A great end to last year, a great year all round. Of course, remember, he missed the opening round in Qatar due to injury. Teammates again this year with Augusto Fernandez, but fair to say, Matt, and we're not over-egging this one, Sam Lowes was by far the fastest rider here a couple of days ago in the test. Not just in terms of one-lap speed, but his pace overall was frightening.
It really was. Sam Lowes on the last night of the test decided to do a full race simulation, and his best time of 1:58.655 was not in a soft tyre time attack mode. It came during that very fast and consistent race simulation. Sam Lowes picking up in 2021 pretty much where he finished off quite heroically in Portimao. Let's not forget he was fighting for the world title against Enea Bastianini and Luca Marini, and somehow wrestled that Triumph Cadillac motorcycle around Portimao, very physically demanding, undulating circuit, with a wrist fracture which really should not have permitted him to be on the grid. How on earth Sam Lowes was able to finish that race, let alone on the podium? Courage above and beyond the call of duty, and quite rightly, many people think he's going to be the pre-season favourite, a reborn rider in many respects. Last year, some people felt he was perhaps fortunate to get the Mark VDS Racing team ride, but when that opportunity came, boy, did he grab it with both hands.
Where do you start? There's so many names there that you just saw. Joe Roberts himself, of course, much talk about him potentially going into MotoGP with Aprilia at the end of last year. He decided to stick in Moto2 with the Italtrans team. It's a big year for the American, and a big year for so many other riders as well, including this man on screen, Jorge Navarro. Matt, who found himself in the gravel trap all too often in 2020.
One of the real perplexing questions of 2020 for me, Jorge Navarro. Clearly on his day, a very, very accomplished World Championship motorcycle race. You don't win and podium at this level without having something about you, but last year was just a horror show. 15 Grand Prix. He DNF'd in more than half. 8 DNFs for Jorge Navarro last year. Racing still for Speed Up Racing, although a slight tweak. They're now known as the Boscascura chassis, of course after their owner and boss Luca Boscascura, so we'll be getting our heads around that one in the first couple of races.
Here we see the Liquimoli then intact team. Marcel Schrotter staying put with the team. He needs to go a few steps better than he did in 2020, and he's being joined, of course, by the runner-up in Moto3 last year, Tiger Tony Arbolino from Italy, who was one of 2 rookies who particularly impressed us a few days ago when we went track spotting, Matt.
So many exciting rookies coming up there. One of them on the left-hand side of your picture, Celestino Vietti, promoted into the Sky VR 46 project alongside Marco Bezzecchi, who had a breakthrough year in Moto2 last year. You've got the reigning Moto3 world champion Alberto Arenas, and this young man who we're looking at now, and this team in particular, Red Bull KTM Ayo. Boy, have they got a stellar lineup this year. Ralph Hernandez was incredibly fast over the course of the pre-season test, and Remy Gardner, breakthrough victory for him at the last round in Portimao last year, elevated in status to the Red Bull KTM Ayo squad, and he looks like he is going to pose a major threat in the World Championship. The Aussie flag flying on the top of a Moto2 podium, or an Intermediate World Championship podium, for the first time since Ant West back in 2014, of course.
So there you see at the front, Sam Lowes and Augusto Fernandez. Fernandez will want to try and pick things up here this year. Arm pump surgery successful. Now it's time for him to try and charge. There is Remy Gardner, who Matt just mentioned, won the most recent race. This is such a big year for the Australian. I think many believe, Matt, that he's MotoGP bound, but it's not just as easy as let's just put Remy Gardner in MotoGP. He's got to earn it. He's now got the right bike, the right team around him to be able to do that.
Let's be honest, Steve, all the ingredients are there for him to really step up this year. He stepped up hugely last year. We were both really big admirers of the work he went about last season, of course, on a year-old Cadillac chassis as well, let's not forget. So with the latest spec, Cadillac's machinery underneath him, the support of Red Bull, Akai, who knows how to win races and world championships, certainly in the lower classes, you just feel it's all in place this year for Gardner to take that final step.
Here is Tom Luthi. Now, Tom struggled in the test series, struggled in general last year. He enters his 14th season in the intermediate class for the Pertamina Mandalika SAG team. It looks like at the moment it's going to be a struggle for the Swiss rider to try and get himself anywhere near the top 3. In contrast to that, his very tall teammate just to the left of him there, the Dutchman Bo Bensnijder, who we thought was World Supersport bound at the end of last year. This is his chance, Matt, and it looks like he's taking it with both hands.
Yeah, a rider that will not be disappointed to know that we've got 2 races here in Qatar, because he loves this Losail International circuit. Qualified 5th last year, just missed the top 10. Great to see Jake Dixon back, of course. his season ended last year. That horrible practice crash in Valencia, one which ended his season prematurely, fresh off the back of that heartbreaking crash while leading late on in Le Mans. It's been a tough rehabilitation for Jake Dixon, the British rider. That wrist injury, that wrist fracture was so serious at one stage, he was worried it might actually end his racing career. And there are a lot of people, though. Jake Dixon, limited laps he could complete in succession at the test, but he was straight back inside the top 6 and looking very, very strong. And there are a lot of people that think, you know, with no British rider in MotoGP currently, a really strong year for Jake Dixon in 2021. That may well open some big doors for him next year.
Yeah, when you think about, with Cal Crutchlow, of course, having left, there's no Brit as a permanent rider in the MotoGP class at the moment. There's a big opportunity there for Jake if he can have himself a good season. There is Navarro, then we already mentioned him, of course, on the newly named Boscoscuro.
Yep.
But we should just point out that the team is still Speed Up Boscoscuro. That one's a little bit confusing. The chassis has been renamed Boscoscuro. Of course, the Aspar riders also will be riding them for this year. There is Marco Bezzecchi alongside Celestino Vietti. Bezzecchi himself, Matt, a fantastic year. Plenty of opportunities to wrestle for the World Championship, but just when it looked like things were lining up for him, a couple of mistakes appeared.
Yeah, just at the wrong time, weren't there? Those big points went begging in both Aragon races. You remember he crashed out late on in the first one. That really put a big dent in his championship challenge. Another rider, of course, that said no to Aprilia in MotoGP for 2021. Aprilia came fishing in Moto2 at the end of last year, but nobody took the bite. Fabio Di Gianantonio, Joe Roberts, Marco Bezzecchi, among some of the names, Aaron Canet as well, we believe, all spoke briefly to Aprilia but decided to focus on Moto2. And all those names that we just mentioned, you are going to expect them to be leading protagonists in this championship in 2021.
So many riders confident that they can be on the podium here in a couple of nights' time. Riders that are coming into this new, like Barry Baltas there on the left, Hafiz Syrin riding for NTS. There's rider switchers. There's Stefano Manzi here, goes into the Flexbox HP team alongside the very, very strong Hector Gartho, who had an outstanding end to last year. Of course, that meant Lorenzo Baldassari has gone over to MV Agusta. What's happened to the career of Lorenzo Baldassari? He'll certainly be hoping that he can sprinkle some Qatar magic, as he has done the last couple of years when we line up on the grid on Sunday night.
He's got a great record here, hasn't he, Baldassari? Podiums in his last 3 visits, including second here 1 year ago. Arguably, that's the most experienced lineup in the field, really. Baldassari and fellow Italian Simone Corsi, although it was quite a bruising end to pre-season testing. We were stood at turn 2, weren't we, mate, on the last night of the winter testing campaign, and poor old Simone Corsi had quite a nasty high side coming out of the second corner. Thankfully, he was perfectly okay, but not the best way to go into 2021.
A few other riders we've not mentioned, of course, the Indy Aspar Boscoscuro riders, Aaron Canet, who's fully fit and raring to go, loves Qatar, looked very good in the test here a couple of days ago. He's joined by the Moto3 world champion Alberto Arenas.
He did, and I think you mentioned those 3 names, Steve: Lowe's, Bezzecchi and Gardner. There are most people's preferred picks. They look like the rock-solid bets where the smart money's going. But for me, next outside of those top trio is Canet. He's got that more experience, he's fully fit, he looked fantastic on the bike the other night when we went out to watch as well. Really smooth. A little bit of concerns about the fact that he didn't seem to have good pace on a soft tyre, on a brand new tyre, which obviously is going to perhaps impact him in terms of qualifying, but I'm expecting big things from Canet this year.
A couple of riders that we haven't mentioned also that have just walked off the grid. Italians, of course, riding for Fausto Grassini's team. Nicolo Bulega, who it seems still hasn't been able to put all of the pieces together in Moto2 as yet. And that man there, number 21, Fabio Di Gianantonio. It was very much a season of wasted opportunities for Fabio Di Gianantonio. No, Matt, he was playing his cards in the winter. He's playing his chances up quite big during the winter. Didn't necessarily show any signs that he had that speed all sort of coming back to him here a couple of days ago in the test. But another rider who's got to try and step it up this year.
When you think the opportunities, like you say, Steve, the The what-ifs for Fabio Di Giannantonio towards the back end of last year. Twice in the last 5 races he crashed out of the lead, and then he dumped it really early on. First corner he crashed out, didn't he? In Portimao, wiped out poor old Nicolo Bulliger in the process as well. So big year for so many of these riders, the likes of Di Giannantonio, who seems certain that he's MotoGP bound next year. He has a 2-year contract with the Gresini project now. Of course, before Fausto Gresini's tragic death from the coronavirus complications, he'd actually confirmed pre-Christmas, Fausto Gresini, that he was going to become an independent team owner yet again. So it looks like Gresini's team name will continue in MotoGP next year. But Fabio Di Giannantonio seems like he's got one of those seats already nailed on. Which motorcycle is the big question? Will it be Aprilia? Will it be Suzuki? That's something that's going to be become apparent over the next few weeks or so.
It's an Italian photo shoot on the grid. Jari Montella, a speed-up Boscoscuro rider, coming out now. I can hear our good friend Simon Crafar, who's testing out the microphone, and who better to test it out with? I'm pretty sure I just saw the 5-time Moto America Superbike champion Cameron Beaubier with you, Simon, so we'll pass over to you.
Guys, I was thinking exactly the same. I meant to just chime in for MotoGP, but if I'm going to test the mic, who better to test it out with than Cameron Beaubier? Cameron, your first test here, I wasn't here, but I was looking at the times and basically the results of each day, and I've got to say I was well impressed, coming into this class as a rookie and doing that. How do you feel so far?
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's definitely a big change from riding superbikes for the past 5 years or something like that, but I'm really enjoying my time with the American racing team. And yeah, on a positive, we keep improving, like the first day we're, a second and some change off, second day and improving, and then the third day as well. So, yeah, I mean, these guys it's incredible, like the talent level of this class. And yeah, I just hope to keep chipping away and see where we find ourselves this weekend. But I feel like there's been so much preparation that's gone, into this new journey, and it feels so good to finally just be at the first race and just do it. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Cameron, I'm curious, I'm sure the listeners are, to get an idea how difficult this mission for you. It's not just the bike that is totally different, massive, worlds apart, but how many of the circuits on this year's championship do you know?
When I raced here in 2009 with KTM, so I know some of the, I at least know which direction some of the circuits go in. It's been a long time though, and obviously, it's a lot different. I remember, just last year, I tested out Jerez for the first time, and on the Moto2 bike, and I was like, man, it felt so different. It felt like I'd never even been there before. So,
was that a Moto3 bike you were there last on?
125.
125.
Yeah, 125. So it's been a while, but on a positive, I at least, like I said, I at least know I've been on some of the tracks, and obviously got some to learn as well. But I'm just really looking forward to getting going. Yeah.
Cameron, thank you for your time. I'll let you go and get out of the leathers in this heat, and we all wish you the best of luck.
I appreciate it. See you guys this weekend.
Yeah, thanks very much, Simon. The mic works perfectly, and the best of luck to Cameron Beaubier. He sounds like a lovely, lovely guy. I haven't had, actually, the pleasure of meeting him just yet, but we'll get to that before the start of the weekend. The 28-year-old from Lincoln, California, coming into play in Moto2. Will be fascinating to see how he gets on this year.
You've got to give him an enormous amount of credit, Steve. He's fresh on those Moto2 bikes. 15th he was at the test. You look at some of the riders behind him: Augusto Fernandez, Marcel Schrotter, Fabio Di Giannantonio, Tom Luthi, Lorenzo Baldassari. Proven race winners and podium finishers in the Moto2 World Championship. So great to see a couple of hot talents from stateside coming into Moto2 this year.
Yeah, it's really, really impressive, and not just a brave move, but it just shows he's obviously such a humble character, Matt, because he'd been really hammering some of the guys over in America. I mean, he won the Moto America Superbike Championship last year against some riders that we know well, that are very, very capable.
Yep.
He knows coming into this World Championship that he is not going to be launching a title challenge, and yet he seems more than willing to take that on the nose and take, a few punches this year, learn as he goes, and it just shows that even at 28, riders can still make that leap over from other championships and are willing to do so.
Full of admiration for him. Yeah, like you say, the easy way would have just been to have carried on winning every week and taken the winning bonuses over in Moto2 America, but he wants to test himself, he wants to challenge himself against the very best, and these guys are the very best. I mean, he's really got into the lion's den in Moto2 this year, but I think he's going to be super happy if he can start establishing himself as a consistent top 10 performer and then take it from there. But I'm full of respect and full of admiration for him to come back to World Championship at 28 is quite late, and to really find out what he can do at this level. So yeah, my cap to him.
It's also great for Moto America in general, of course. They're trying to rebuild. They're trying to get as many Americans into World Championship racing as possible. Joe has come from over there, now Cameron as well, and I'm sure they've got some young riders that are hoping to follow in their footsteps. Now, another rider, we're fascinated to see how he gets on this year. I'm delighted that Bo Bensnide has been given another opportunity in 2021, and particularly on a Kalex. He looked good here a couple of days ago, and Simon's grabbed a word with him.
Bo, as Steve just said, we're delighted to see you back. I remember kind of saying goodbye to you at the last race. Sad to see you go because you were going so well, but it looks like someone else thought you were going well and gave you another opportunity, and on a really good bike.
Yeah, like you say, after the last couple of races last year, I was feeling better and better, and the results were coming. So it was not a great feeling to leave the paddock. But in the end, the Pertamina Mandalika SAC team and Eduardo Perales give me the chance in the last moment. So I'm super grateful for them to give me this chance. And I think we had a great winter test. We finished here in the top 10. So now it's, I think, my time to show what we can do.
After those tests on a couple of different circuits, can you give us an idea, or if you're allowed to, the strong points of the machine that you're on now?
I think the big difference compared to last year bike and this year bike of the Kalex is the base. The base of the Kalex is better because they have much more bikes in the circuit. So this helps me a lot to find directly a good feeling, and then it's just working on my riding style to be more smooth with this bike. So I still need to learn quite a lot, but I think we're on the good way.
Bo, thank you for your time and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks Simon, and thanks to Bo Bensnide. Pretty strong in the test, 8th quickest he was, which actually was equaling his best result of last season, the best ever result for the NTS. He struggled a little bit to make an impact in Moto2 on the Tech 3 Mistral 610, but this year on the Kalex we're expecting big things from the Dutchman.
That just about rounds things up then from Moto2, and as you can quite clearly see, it's time now for the Premier Class. It's been well overdue, this, watching MotoGP riders make their way to the grid here in Qatar. Unfortunately, no Premier Class action here last year, but we will be back, and it's now time for the Premier Class. The Espargaro brothers making their way onto the grid, of course, for Aprilia. Aleix Espargaro, this is his 5th season now for the Italian manufacturer. And look at that, Pol Espargaro, dreams coming true finally. A Repsol Honda rider, and with no Marc Marquez, of course. If you're late to the party and you don't know the news, where have you been for the last few weeks? As Jack Miller is just knocking on the door of the Ducati garage. Maybe forgot something, ready to go onto the grid for, but who else? But Jack Miller just trying, nobody's home. You can keep knocking. Jack going for it there, but there is Pol Espargaro. A fantastic test for him actually here in Qatar over these 6 days, and very much leading the line, I guess, in the absence of Marc Marquez, who we really hope will be back soon. And many people were looking forward to seeing how Pol Espargaro and his aggressive riding style would cope with difficult to ride Honda, I think is the best way of putting it, and it didn't look like it took him long to gel with the RCV.
No, I think he surprised a lot of people with his performance over the 2 Qatar tests, and I think he impressed himself actually. I'm not sure he expected to be as strong as what he was. Luckily, well not luckily, but his natural riding style seems to be quite a good fit for that Repsol Honda RC213V. As good as of a test it was for Pol Espargaro, it was very, very difficult for that young man, Alex Marquez, who at times last year really did show flashes of pure brilliance. Of course, that wet podium in Le Mans, followed up by that brilliant challenge for the victory against Alex Rins in Aragon 1. But the test here recently was a bit of a horror show for the younger of the Marquez siblings. 5 crashes he had in total. In fact, LCR Honda had a very bruising and damaging start to 2021. Taka Nakagami also on the deck here 3 times, so 8 crashes across the test for Lucio Cecchinello's squad.
So the bikes will be making their way onto the grid first for a photo before the riders head over. Yes, Alex Marquez, of course, replacing Cal Crutchlow effectively in the LCR Castrol Honda team. Taka Nakagami, his teammate. There's a change of colours here as well, from bright reds to bright orange for Danilo Petrucci.
Fair to say, we're not going to be missing Danilo Petrucci and Iker Lecuona and their exploits out on track this year. Commentators' dream, that livery and those leathers. They've been tangoed, those boys.
Can't wait to see those beautiful orange KTMs, though, under the night lights here, racing around the Losail International Circuit.
I think it's been love at first sight for Petrucci and the KTM RC16. The problem for him, of course, and so many riders in particular who've changed manufacturers, Pol Espargaro from KTM to Honda, and crucially the rookies, they've missed out on that vital track time. Simon Crafart getting straight in there with Jack Miller, who was absolutely awesome on his factory Ducati debut here at the winter testing. A sensational best lap of 1:53.183. He said he's never felt more confident and comfortable coming into a new season. Well, let's find out how he's thinking right now. So I'd like to say the Aussie is with Simon in pit lane. Over to you guys.
He is. He's just having a chat to his team manager about something, but I think he's going to chat to us now. Yep, Jack, as Matt was just saying, you looked awesome at the test. From looking in the garage, there was a bit of a swagger on there, not meaning negative at all. It was great to see the confidence up, but more important, how did it feel?
No, I felt mega, to work with the boys for the first test. Well, we got the 2 tests in one sort of thing, and no, it was really good. They're a great bunch of guys, and I think we've got a great camaraderie there in the box already, and definitely looking forward to see what we can do in the real thing now this weekend. Testing's all well and good, but real stuff happens today, this weekend.
Okay, Jack, I'll let you get heading towards the photo, and I want to say big best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, Simon. Cheers, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. What a year it is for Jack Miller, number 43, stepping up into the factory team. I would say, Matt, probably looking like the bookies' favourite. Well, he is the bookies' favourite coming into this first round. And if he is going to launch a championship assault, he really needs to be getting, at the very least, a couple of podiums under his belt just to get that confidence going and lift off where he finished last year.
I mean, he just mentioned there, he was sensational, incredible speed he had at the pre-season test, but this is now a step up. Jack Miller is an official factory rider in the Ducati team. There's no hiding place now. You have to turn up there and be fighting for the podium and the race wins every single week.
Yeah, there's no hiding place at Repsol Honda either. And Pol Espargaro is going to find that out this year. He's excited, we're excited, and he's spared a moment with Simon Crafart.
He has. He's just having a chat with the boys, but I think I can pry him away. Pol, I've said to everyone who will listen, since I saw you at the test, you were the surprise for me at the test, how well you went. And I put my cards on the line, and said that I believe, looking at you, how determined you are, how quickly you made friends with the bike, that I wouldn't be surprised if one of these first 2 races you put that Honda on the box. What, am I dreaming, or?
I'm thankful. Thank you very much. Yeah, coming for you. I'm honored to hear it, but I don't know what's gonna come. We did just 4 days of testing, and feels like it's not enough. But in the same time, after that 4 days, I feel quite good and feels like we are more or less ready. It's a mixed feelings, I really want to go to the first race because I feel fast, but I don't feel I have this control of knowing everything at the limit as I would like. So yeah, we will see. We have 2 races here. I think this is not also the best place for Honda, but even like that, we are gonna fight.
I'll let you get to the photo. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much to Pol Espargaro. Of course, Marc Marquez's bike will be out on circuit, but we won't see Marc Marquez for a couple of rounds. Matt, it is just a point that's worth bringing up here coming into this one. 4 riders that are switching teams and potentially manufacturers like Pol. There's not been a lot of testing before we go racing.
Yeah, they had 5 days planned here, didn't they, in Qatar? One of those was wiped out by that fierce wind on the last day. In a normal winter testing campaign, life anything but normal at the moment, sadly, because of the global pandemic, these guys would have had 14, 15 days on motorcycles testing in Jerez, Valencia, Malaysia, Qatar to really get their heads around those new motorcycles. And Pol Espargaro made a great point himself. He said, you think it's bad for me? I'm an experienced MotoGP rider. What about the rookies? I mean, Bastianini, Luca Marini and the like, they've had it really tough with such little time to adapt to such different motorcycle and different environment.
Well, one rider who stays with the same manufacturer but changes into factory colours, and our most recent MotoGP race winner is now with Simon, Portugal's Miguel Oliveira. Over to you, Simon.
He is, and I hunted down Miguel, really wanted to talk to him because he looked, I mean, basically the KTM looked like it was having a bit of a battle with the test here, but you looked strong. You looked like the man leading the KTM way. More importantly, how did it feel?
Well, it felt good. I mean, for sure that last day of testing would have been good for us to do it, but with the track conditions, it became nearly impossible to ride. So feeling good. Coming into the first round, you always optimistic and you expect the best, but we just want to get through these 2 rounds as best as we can, capitalize every moment, every opportunity that we see, and basically start then the championship in Europe in a more normal way, let's say. Yeah.
At the test, it looked from us, looking in from the outside, that you were the leader at KTM, and also in your body language on how you're handling the extra weight of being in the factory team. Do you feel that way as well, or not really? You're just doing your job?
No, I mean, no, there's no pressure at all when coming to having a great spot in a team. Obviously, I was working for this spot, so finally when I get it, it's not extra pressure or anything like that. We just need to work a little bit harder because we have many parts to test, but it doesn't add an extra weight or anything. It's not like I'm deciding KTM's future or anything like that. So I'm feeling quite great. I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and I'm just taking the best I can out of this experience.
Thank you. I'll let you get to the photo or in the call. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, so what a season it was for Portugal's Miguel Oliveira. That race at Styria that I think will live very long in the memory, and then his home race win in Portugal where no one even got close to him.
No, it was a one-man demolition job, wasn't it, from Miguel Oliveira. There are a couple of really, really good buddies. Under normal circumstances, they'd be normally on winter training camps in California. Sadly, no longer able to do that. Marcel Schrotter, though, and Jack Miller. What a weekend it could be for Jack Miller. Ducati have won here in Qatar for the last 3 years. Can he continue that golden run? Stefan Bradl as well, we should mention him. What a sterling job he did last year, replacing the absent Marc Marquez after that horrible right humerus fracture he suffered in the very first Grand Prix of a delayed season in 2020. Bradl replacing Marc Marquez. Now let's pop back down to Simon Craver. Of course, it was a memorable, unforgettable season for the factory Suzuki team. MotoGP World Champions for the first time in 20 years. That was thanks to Joan Mir, but what about his teammate who's going to be pushing hard to defend that championship and win his first Premier Class title? Simon Craver, I'm delighted to say, is with Alex Rins in pit lane. Simon.
I am. Alex is just waiting to head out for the photo. And Alex, before you head out there, can you tell us, I'm really curious how you feel now compared to 12 months ago, starting the other season, that you had a massive handicap in the beginning with the injury, but still was so strong, so close. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm feeling like more stronger than last year, ready to start. I'm so excited to start this new season, to give my maximum percent in every session, in every race. So let's start soon.
I'm curious what you've learned in that last 12 months that you're going to apply this year in general.
Yeah, I learned that we need to be like constant during all the season to try to be on the top, to try to win. So yeah, let's try to be there.
Alex, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Simon. Thanks to Alex Rins. Alex, at the end of last year, Matt, when he was fully firing, was a threat week in, week out. This looks like, on paper, being his best ever chance of becoming the MotoGP World Champion.
Couldn't agree more. He'll be licking his wounds from last year. He would not have liked the fact that the lesser experienced and fellow Spanish rider Joan Mir came into Suzuki and within 2 years lifted the ultimate prize, the MotoGP World Championship. Of course, it's a very, very different factory Suzuki team in 2021. One of the big major surprises of the whole winter campaign was the departure of the talisman, really, the manager, the man who gelled it all together, who signed Alex Rins and Joan Mir and has really put Suzuki back on the map since they returned to the MotoGP World Championship in 2015. Davide Brivio accepting an offer. Basically, he couldn't refuse to switch to the Formula One World Championship, where we wish him all the very best in his new adventures, and I'm sure he'll make as much of a success of it on 4 wheels as what he did on 2.
Well, of course, last year, we just mentioned Stefan Bradley did a fantastic job replacing the injured Marc Marquez. He continues to do a fantastic job for HRC as a test rider, and he's got another couple of races coming up here as well. He was fast in testing too. Simon is down in pit lane with the German rider.
I am, and Stefan, I've come to grab you because I wanted the opportunity to big you up on the live. You know, we don't often get to talk, and I believe that everyone, you know, in this paddock, in this pit lane, has been impressed with what you've pulled off in the last 12 months. You know, it started out as a test rider jumping in, and how fast you were. This last test, I mean, in Portugal, this last test here, you know, and before the fall, constantly in that sort of top 5, and if I remember correctly, and you know, like a real racer in this condition, it's not easy, you know, to come from with that massive load on your shoulders, all the stuff to run through, you know. And I want to know how you felt in the last period, you know, showing so much strength.
Well, basically it was a very tough start. You know, when I jumped in for Marc in Brno last year, I suffered quite a lot. You know, we could see that on the results as well. It cost me some time to get used to this situation. But, you know, towards the end of the season, we improved quite a lot with everything, with just the feeling for each other, and we could make better results. I was able to combine the things a little bit better with the testing program plus the race weekends. Yes, and that's it still goes on like this. So, I mean, it's been also a busy winter for us. But we expected also that Marc is coming back for the first race. But finally, the situation is like it is now, and my target as a rider is just to do my best. It's not always the point that you have to show to the people that you are a fast rider. It's also, you know, internally we have some things going on that is not always the most important for the public to see. So basically, this is my job as a test rider, and I'm replacing Marc Marquez again, so this is not an easy situation, but I will try my best and try to help Honda as much as I can, as always, and we try to develop the bike because we want to be back on the top.
I noticed at the test, like I mentioned, how strong you were up into that fall. It looked like it knocked you around quite a bit, and have you fully recovered from that crash?
I mean, basically this crash was not a drama. I just fall in turn 2, and unfortunately when I slide away, I hit the gravel quite bad with my head. But in the end, I was riding again the other day. Of course, it cost me a little bit of confidence, but I think it came back quite good from that point on. And well, we could see the lap times. We are pretty fast. I mean, we are 53s is quite standard in the top 10. So we all go to the maximum. We have seen a lot of crashes, and yeah, you know, these guys are pulling. So you have to do as well.
Last question before I let you go: how much better is the Honda from 12 months ago to now?
Well, I mean, it's better. The bike is better, believe me.
Okay, best of luck. Thank you.
Thanks very much there to Stefan Bradl. That's good news for all of the Honda riders. There you can see then the different manufacturers and different teams lining up on the grid. Johan Zarco, of course, moving over to Pramac Ducati. Now he could be the thorn in the side of many riders coming into this MotoGP World Championship.
We say this every single year, don't we, Steve? In terms of the rider talent, it seems stronger and deeper than ever, and certainly in terms of the technical competition, the battle behind the scenes, it looks like that's closer than ever. Really encouraging signs in winter testing from the factory Aprilia team. Aleix Espargaro looking very, very strong on a pretty much a brand new motorcycle. The exciting prospect of Andrea Dovizioso testing the RSGP very, very soon as well. There is not a single weak link, rider or machine-wise, in 2021.
No, it doesn't look like it, and we're expecting and hoping, of course, that Aprilia can add themselves to the party this year and maybe even fight for regular top 5 finishes. What does Aleix Espargaro think? I'm sure he's just as hopeful as the rest of us after a very positive test here a few days ago. And Aleix is now standing by with Simon down in pit lane.
He is actually sitting by with his brother. I just mentioned Pole was one of the big surprises for me at the last test. The other one was you and the Aprilia, how strong you were every day, every session. Well, from the outside, it looks like it's the best Aprilia ever. What about from the inside?
Yeah, fully agree. The good thing was that I enjoy a lot riding, and it was, like, I will say, quite easy to ride the bike and to be competitive. Sometimes even if you try harder ever, you cannot go fast, you cannot be competitive. But in this time with this new bike here in Qatar, I've been very consistency, and was quite easy to be competitive. So I'm happy. The thing is that everybody have a lot of doubts because we just test in one circuit. So I can't wait to start and to see how much better is this Aprilia RSGP 21. But yeah, obviously it looks promising.
I know you can't give us all the juicy details exactly, but can you give us an idea where the new bike or this year's bike is better?
So basically there are a lot of small things that has changed a lot the potential of the bike. The first thing is the position. The position of the bike has changed a little bit, and also the engine position, and changed quite a lot the balance. The dynamics makes the bike that a lot more heavier, a lot more physically to ride, but at the same time allow you to use more power, because due to downforce you can enjoy stronger acceleration. So a little bit here, a little bit there makes the bike more competitive. We have to see how fast is it in a race weekend, because everybody will give the best. So yeah, let's see this weekend.
Okay. Aleix, I'm sure a lot of fans will join me in saying, I hope you have a really successful race. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aleix. Thanks, Simon. On the grid there, Dorna CEO Carmelo Ezpeleta. What a job Carmelo Ezpeleta has done. Not just the job he does every single year, Matt, to get this fantastic World Championship going, but under the circumstances and against all of the elements that have been thrown at us in the last 12 or so months, to have got the season underway last year, 14 races in 18 weekends, and again, just to be here. It's just an astonishing job, the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes, but it's first and foremost down to this man here.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a fantastic team, a dedicated team which work behind him, but we mentioned it in Portimao, behind every great company, organisation, call it what you like, championship, there's one talismanic figure that knits it all together, that gels it all together, and we're lucky to have that man, Carmelo Ezpeleta, doing that very job here in the MotoGP World Championship. What he's done to make this sport the spectacle it is now, respected around the world for the way it's organised, the show that's provided. So much of the credit goes to Dorna CEO Carmelo Ezpeleta, and like we said before, mate, it's an absolute pleasure and privilege for us to both be involved, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah, here. It certainly is. Okay, well, the bikes are going to be removed shortly. Mechanics from all parties getting ready to remove them. Which one of those machines will be doing most of the winning in 2021? Of course, Suzuki, such a strong motorcycle generally all round last year. So strange, isn't it, to see the number 46 in different colours. 2012 was it the last time Valentino Rossi changed teams.
Yeah.
And he stays with Yamaha, but he goes to Petronas colours. 25th anniversary, much like yourself,
Yeah,
Grand Prix racing.
The two of us both started in 1996.
You old dogs.
Still got quite a lot in common, apart from the size of his bank balance and his trophy cabinet. Apart from that, we're very, very similar. I mean, amazing, you know, to think. It's all right to laugh and joke, but Valentino Rossi celebrated recently his 42nd birthday. He rocked up to this Qatar test and was doing laps in the 1:53 bracket. The guy is riding faster than ever. The big question, of course, is Rossi's best ever speed fast enough to cope with this new wave, this hot young crop of talented riders in MotoGP, which of course includes younger brother Luca Marini. What a special moment that will be for the Rossi Marini family here on Sunday night when the two brothers line up alongside each other on the grid. I mean, there must have been a moment where Luca Marini could never have imagined that Valentino would still be riding at the ripe old age of 42. For him to say, I started a MotoGP race alongside Valentino, and here we are, what? Just a few hours away from that becoming reality. Now, I'm sure I read a brilliant story where Luca was 2 or 3 years old when Valentino won his first Premier Class World Championship, and here they are about to start a race together. Absolutely love that story.
It's magic. It's a magic story. And another magic story from last year, of course, was, what, 3 races into the season in Brno when Brad Binder, the South African, wowed everyone, the rookie, by winning his first ever MotoGP race. What's in store for the South African this year? He's down with Simon in pit lane.
He is. And like you said, Steve, really impressive last year from Brad, especially a couple of races. Brad, you had a tough test here, you know, watching, and all of the KTM guys did. And can you give us a bit of an idea how you're feeling going into the race? And but like, I imagine you're an experienced guy. You know how it is to fight for a championship and win. You know that's about more than at one circuit.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have had a little bit of a stronger test here for sure, but unfortunately it seems that this track is really, really challenging for our package. So yeah, it was definitely a bit more difficult than we had hoped. You know, we just kept working throughout the weekend and we couldn't quite touch our problems too well. But, you know, we've had this week off now. The guys have gone home and done their homework, and I'm sure they're going to come back and we're going to start to make steps forward from here on.
What you just said fits exactly how I see KTM. Like, I give the example of the double races last year. You know, you'd turn up with at a track they hadn't spent much time at and struggle, you know, and then the second one, it worked. So I imagine KTM fighting back.
Exactly. You know, I have such a great team around me, and you know, the guys seldom make steps backwards. So I'm really, really looking forward to getting back on the bike tomorrow. And I'm really confident that the guys have given us that little bit extra that we need. And you know, I think things didn't look good at all on paper last week, but I think when it comes down to race day, we can always try and make a plan.
And if anyone's a racer, it's you. Best of luck, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks to Simon, thanks to Brad Binder. That is a very good point. You know, the likes of Brad Binder and Miguel Oliveira, they are not really the type of guys that you sort of pinpoint as being testing type of men, and particularly Brad Binder, Matt. We've seen it so often in his career. He doesn't really properly get things firing until we get to Sunday. Now, here is the Aprilia rider on the right there, Lorenzo Savadori, and at the moment he is set to embark on his first full season, Matt, of MotoGP action. But of course, many people will have seen the news of late that Andrea Dovizioso is going to be testing that Aprilia in April. That is very interesting, to say the least.
Dates for your diaries, folks. April the 12th, 13th and 14th at the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto. Andrea Dovizioso will throw his leg over the factory Aprilia RSGP. And as Steve mentioned, that comes with an awful lot of intrigue. Will he or won't he be back on a MotoGP bike this year? Of course, it's going to be pivotal. Fascinating to get Andrea Dovizioso's feedback fresh off the factory Ducati, of course, on the Aprilia. They think that they've rolled out a podium motorcycle this year. Andrea Dovizioso's experience will be crucial. It's going to be one to keep a close eye on that private test. And here he is then, the old warrior, about to start his 26th season in the World Championship, the 25th anniversary in Grand Prix motorcycle racing for the living legend the 9-times world champion Valentino Rossi. Intrigued to find out how the dynamics down in Petronas Yamaha SRT are going to go on as well, see, because he's partnered up with his great buddy, the man who he's mentored for so many years, Franco Morbidelli. I love the quote in pre-season from Frankie where he said, look, the first guy you want to beat, it's an old cliche, but first guy you want to beat in racing is your teammate. He said, but nothing can get in the way of friendship. And I just thought it was an absolutely beautiful line from Frankie. We do know that those two, if they're wheel to wheel, fairing to fairing, they're going to be giving their absolute everything. But post-race, when the leathers are off, the helmets are off, they will be bosom buddies like always. Nothing, no matter how fierce the rivalry gets, will get in the way of them being lifelong pals.
He's like a poet, isn't he, Franco Morbidelli? I agree. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how things get on, because there is slightly less pressure in the team that's a satellite team rather than factory. Don't get me wrong, that takes nothing away from the professionalism of the Petronas Yamaha SRT squad we saw last year with Fabio Quartararo and Franco Morbidelli. They mean business, but with new faces to work with, maybe a little bit more of a laid-back atmosphere, a different approach to racing, will that give Valentino Rossi perhaps that little bit of energy that he might just need coming into what is his 26th season in Grand Prix racing? Well, Matt just mentioned the fabulous story, the dream story, the fairy tale that Luca Marini will be lining up on a MotoGP grid with his brother Valentino Rossi. But more importantly, how does he get on this year in terms of his racing? Because that is what is the most important. It is going to be very, very difficult for Luca Marini and Enea Bastianini to get themselves going here this year on that Spec Ducati as well. But let's find out what Luca himself is expecting of himself for 2021. He's down in pit lane with Simon.
Yes, and we're about to do an interview with Luca, who's riding a Ducati with a Ducati warming up in the background. Luca, first of all, what was it like riding on a MotoGP bike for the first time here?
Well, it's fantastic. You can feel, I can feel from the beginning the power, the speed in the straight, and also all the changes comparing to Moto2. There are so many different things. Everything is on the limit. The braking power is much more incredibly, and also the tire grip, when the tire are in the correct temperature, are amazing. Everything is pushed on the limit. So also the riders have to push more to the limit. It's not easy.
I was going to say, because everything else is at a higher level, I imagine it's much more physical.
Yeah, also this. Yeah, in particular the Ducati is a little bit more physical, maybe compared to the other bikes, but the potential is unbelievable.
Look, it looks like everyone's heading to the photo. I'll let you go. Thanks for talking to us, and good luck in your first race.
Good luck. Thank you very much to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much to Simon. Thanks to Luca Marini. There he is then next to his brother Valentino Rossi, Pecco Bagnaia and Franco Morbidelli there as well. Then the full VR46 crew.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Those four guys there spend so much time together at the MotoGP circus and away from it. Valentino Rossi's guidance has helped those young men flourish and blossom. Pecco Bagnaia, Franco Morbidelli, Moto2 world champions. Luca Marini very close to being a Moto2 world champion. What lies in store for the VR46 Academy in 2021? Valentino Rossi has made it crystal clear. He does not see this as the final farewell, the swan song. In fact, he did an interview recently published in Italy where he said, I want to carry on for another 2 years, which sounds absolutely fantastic. Well, we're going from one end of the spectrum to the other. Valentino Rossi, the most experienced man on the MotoGP grid, to one of the hottest prospects coming into MotoGP in 2021 on the Pramac Ducati. Jorge Martin, I'm delighted to say, is with Simon down in pit lane.
Yeah, I am. Guys, I'm super excited, as everyone knows about the rookies coming in, you know. And I don't think there's a more driven, hard, aggressive one than Jorge Martin, who I'm standing with now. Jorge, what was it like here? We've just heard from Luca. What was it like riding a MotoGP for the first time here in Qatar?
Well, it was crazy. It was so also emotional, no? Because my first time after so long battling during all the categories to arrive in MotoGP, and then you arrive finally. And yeah, the feeling was great. The bike is not that difficult, no, comparing to other bikes, and I feel really competitive. Still, we miss some time, and some speed, but for sure we will be really strong, and the bike is amazing to ride.
Can you give us an idea what are the points you'd like to figure out before Sunday?
Well, I will try to figure out the entry of the corners. I need a bit of speed there, but for sure in braking, acceleration, I am already really competitive. So I will try to be competitive also, releasing the brake earlier, and I think I will be ready to battle for the top 10.
Jorge, thank you for your time, and I'm sure I'm not alone when I say we'll be cheering for you on Sunday.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you.
Yeah, the best of luck to Jorge Martin. Throughout every single class he's ever entered, Matt, he's been a class act.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on in Pramac Ducati colours.
The Italian army ready for battle in 2021. A young man on the end there, on the right-hand side of your picture. One man who we've not mentioned too much, the current Moto2 world champion, Enea Bastianini. Big hopes and expectations for him as well, coming into the MotoGP World Championship for the very first time. Lorenzo Savadori there as well, partnering Aleix Espargaro, Steve mentioned, in the Factory Aprilia squad.
Wow, I've forgotten actually just how many Italians were actually in the Premier class. Of course, now that Luca Marini and Enea Bastianini are moving up and Savadori has gone in as well, that's really lifted up the Italian fortunes in the Premier class. You can just see there, top left of the picture, the bright orange bike with a 27. That's Iker Lecuona's KTM in Tech 3 colours. He's now ready to stand by. Of course, this will be his second full season in MotoGP. What are his expectations? Let's find out now. He's with Simon in pit lane.
Iker, you're no longer a rookie. I know this is a tough one for KTM so far at Qatar, but how do you feel from 12 months ago compared to now?
Yeah, no, I feel really good, honestly. Also, I have long time with no MotoGP bike because my last race before the last test is in Aragon. So yeah, also here in Qatar I struggle a lot. The KTM maybe not is the best bike for this track, but I don't know. I expect a lot about this race. KTM worked very well, so we'll see. I think we can to improve a lot.
That was, just before I let you go, that was really sad not seeing you do your home race in Valencia and then still not be able to do the last race of the season, or either of your home races at Valencia. Tell us about that. That must have been tough, not racing in front of your family there.
Still, this moment is really difficult for me, also for my man, because the first race is not possible to go. The second race, Dornat speak with Andorra and say, hey, you can to leave Saturday morning. Maybe I remember maybe at 2 or 3 a.m. to arrive to the qualifying. I say, okay, if I can to ride, I wake up early and I go. And after 5 negatives, I arrived to Valencia, I have the PCR and it's positive. I say, no way, come on. So for my man, it's very difficult to accept this moment, but also I learned a lot. Finally, it's life. Sometimes happen. So I put my focus to be ready in 2021 to continue to improve, because my last race is really good. I finished in the top 10, so I think my performance, I have a good level. Just I want to continue like that.
Best of luck, Iker, and yeah, thank you for reminding us about that, because we have to realise you have to get yourself back up to speed after being off the bike so long. But best of luck with that.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, good luck to Iker Lecuona, a rookie no longer, but still plenty of enthusiasm there from young Iker as he sets sail then into his second full MotoGP season. There is Alex Rins, still no sign as yet of the current world champion, his teammate Joan Mir. We just saw Maverick Vinales a moment ago. One thing I'm really intrigued to know, and I'm sure you're the same, Matt, is just how Yamaha fare this year. So up and down they were in 2020, particularly those on the full factory setup Yamaha. But what is in store Fabio Quartararo, Maverick Viñales and Valentino Rossi this year in terms of the motorcycle that's underneath them?
It's such a difficult one to answer, isn't it? When you look at last season, I think on reflection, a lot of people outside of Franco Morbidelli will probably think it was a bad year for Yamaha, but they won half the races. 7 out of 14 Grand Prix. So, yeah, it will be fascinating to see exactly how the Yamaha boys go on Sunday night. Qualifying is going to be key for them, that's for sure.
Danilo Petrucci is, of course, changing teams this year. He goes from red to orange and now rides for KTM. Let's get his thoughts then. We heard from his teammate a moment ago. Danilo is with Simon.
Danilo, I love hearing from you. And just before you go out for a photo, I'm not going to hassle you about how the test went and the differences in the bike. What have you been doing in the winter, off-season?
A lot of motocross, my passion, and I did rally, motor rally in December because I like to ride the bike in general. And we went to Sardinia for a 3 days rally. It was very nice experience, but maybe too dangerous for the moment.
and how's Mama?
Is everything okay? Everything okay at home? My mom, my father they are really happy because I'm still at their home, and they just training me to.
When you say you're still at home, is that because I heard you're doing some renovations on a house or something? Is that right?
Yeah. Just renew an old house from the 1st of 90. And was very difficult to get everything, but it's a thing that I love because see something born is and grew up is very nice, but it needs time.
Danilo, thank you for your time. Good luck.
Thank you.
There you go then. When Danilo Petrucci finishes at MotoGP, maybe there's a new TV show for house renovations coming his way.
He just likes his mum's cooking, doesn't he?
There is Valentino Rossi then, and Franco Morbidelli taking a good look at Franco's bike, and no doubt the number 36. I just saw a glimpse there of the world champion. There is Fabio Quartararo, just saying hello to Dorna boss Carmelo Espeleta, sporting still, shall we say, I don't know if it's really bleached hair. It's sort of part bleach, part grey ahead of the season.
Yeah, he went sort of full Slim Shady a few weeks ago, didn't he? Jack Miller and Valentino Rossi, well, make no bones about it, a lot of riders, including Rossi, have earmarked Jack Miller as one of the big favourites for the first 25 points that's up for grabs here in Qatar on Sunday night. And as Simon mentioned, you just get this sense from looking at Jack Miller, the way he's sort of just carrying himself. He feels like now this is his time to shine. He's put in all the hard graft, all the hard work for years and years and years, and now this is his moment to really show the world what he's fully capable of. And it'll take some doing, though, to wrestle the crown away from that young man.
Yes, here is the 23-year-old Mallorcan, then Joan Mir, the reigning MotoGP world champion. What a season it was for the Suzuki rider.
Number 1 on the rankings last year, but not number 1 on the motorcycle. There was some debate, wasn't there, in the winter? Will he or won't he run the number 1 plate? Well, after a bit of an overhype, I have to say, he decided to stick with his trusted, faithful number 36. He said, I hope it's not the last time I get the opportunity to make that call about whether I will run the 36 or number 1. But there are certainly 3 young men who've got eyes on taking that young man's prize. Maverick Viñales, Fabio Quartararo, the new look Yamaha squad, and Alex Rins as well, of course. When you look back at last year, there was probably only one day in the whole of last year that Alex Rins could say, I was 100% fit. And that was the Friday of the opening round in Jerez. Of course, he had that horrible qualifying crash, tore all the ligaments, dislocated that right shoulder. And from that point onwards, I don't think, Steve, at any stage you could say he jumped on that motorcycle and was fully fit.
No, that was certainly the case. And, you know, we're in this season, Matt, where at the moment we have a calendar for the year, which is fantastic. But we do also have to be aware that there could be changes at any time. This is changing every single day around the world, but there is nobody at the moment that can do it consistently like Joan Mir, and that is the one thing I think every single rider behind Joan Mir has got to get right in 2021 if they're going to beat the number 36 to the championship.
And barring the legend, the former world champion now, of course, Marc Marquez, as the photographers get their shots for the websites and the magazines and the newspapers all around the world, we're about to see very, very shortly the class of 2021. And it is probably, I think without hesitation, the strongest we've ever seen in history.
Yep. Really tough one to call in 2021, and that is exactly how we like it. Ducati, well, they'll be looking to make a step up, and they are probably the biggest movers in terms of changes to personnel. Of course, Bagnaia, Miller moving up to the factory. They now have Martin and Zarco at their disposal at Pramac, and the two rookies as well. What does Davide Tardozzi make of Ducati's chances of getting back to the top in MotoGPs with Simon?
Yes, he is. Davide, while the photos are going on, I would love to hear from you, your feelings inside the team. We've just been talking about how Jack looks confident. You know, he's not only fast on track, he looks like he's ready to go out there and do it. What are your feelings inside the garage?
Yeah, it seems that wearing the red suit, it makes him more confident, more focused. So pretty happy about this attitude, and I guess that this will be finalized in good results.
One thing I was thinking is Jack is ready, you know, ready to do something special, I think. The other thing is there's only going to be a small window for Jack to shine as the number one guy, I think, because Pecco is so natural. We saw it a couple of times last year, Jerez, Misano, how fast he is. And I want you to give us your thoughts on Pecco so far.
I think that Pecco too has room to grow. I think that he has the right mental attitude, and he's not worried about Jack being faster than him on the test. He's looking to the championship, the whole championship, and he knows that it will be the time that he will be faster than Jack. So I think that it will be one of the top 5 guys of the World Championship.
One more thing to get your thoughts on is I was talking, actually it was on a podcast last week, and we were talking about Ducati, the tough time last year, and I kind of hadn't thought a lot about it before that, but came out with something I'd love your opinion on, is when I went from went to Dunlops. So I rode on Dunlops for a while, and I progressed, and I went faster and faster each year I rode them, and I think I developed my style around that. And being as an older rider, when I jumped on the Michelins, I couldn't change back my style, and it reminded me this because that's what I kind of saw last year. You're two experienced riders, Dovizioso, Petrucci. You know, the new rear tyre come along, and they didn't seem to be able to adapt or change themselves to suit it. And I know it's bike as well, and your young boys could.
Yeah, what you said is, I guess, is the truth. I think that old style guys maybe doesn't match with the new tires, not with the bike. I guess that those new guys can be more open to change a bit riding style and to let the bike working better with the tires. So we are really confident that we will have less problem this year.
Davide, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks to Davide Tardozzi. Here they are then, the field of 2021. Who is your favourite? Or maybe your favourite isn't actually, at this moment in time, on the grid.
Indeed, and that's a pretty mouth-watering prospect as well. The Titan, Marc Marquez, still to come back. Will it be Portimao on April the 18th? We know he's certainly been ruled out of the double-header here in Qatar. Johann Zarco, we haven't really mentioned much about him. He was looking really, really strong, of course, upgraded to the latest spec factory Ducati in Pramac this year. He feels like he's got an outside chance of being firmly in that World Championship hunt. Will Aprilia live up to their pre-season promise? So many different stories to look forward to and keep you on the edge of the seat throughout this 2021 campaign.
Yeah, will it be finally Miller time on a Ducati? Of course, still looking for his first win in Ducati colours. You just saw in the background then Taka Nakagami. Can he finally find his way onto a MotoGP podium, having looked so close to doing so many times last year? Can Franco Morbidelli go one better? Many still wondering how he's not got exactly the same spec motorcycle as everyone else. He's still the coolest customer in MotoGP.
Exactly. One question we do know the answer to is, can Franco Morbidelli look any more chilled out? No, he can't.
The trio from Spain there, of course. Two of them rookies from last year, Lecuona and Alex Marquez, and then Jorge Martin. Pecco Bagnaia is another rider we've not mentioned yet as well. It was an up and down season in 2020, perhaps more downs than ups for the Italian. If he could perhaps recapture the form we saw of him in Misano, then he'll be a force to be reckoned with this year. But he's got to find sort of an upward curve, shall we say, pretty quickly in 2021.
When you look at that shot, mate, there's going to be some bruised egos a few times this year. I mean, there's going to be times this year where you're going to have world champions and race winners at this level that aren't even going to be scoring points.
Well, no, as ever, Matt, when we come to the start of a season, everybody's got a smile on their face, everyone's excited, but already by Sunday night, there's going to be some miserable folk in this paddock because the numbers just don't add up. There's only 3 spaces on a podium.
And on paper, if you base your judgment on the pre-season test, which is all we've kind of got to go on, it looks like at the moment being a bit of a showdown between the Yamahas, in particular Quartararo, Vinales and Morbidelli, although do not rule out Rossi. He's a Sunday man, isn't he? And the Ducatis, particularly in the hands of a certain Jay Miller Esquire.
It's looking like also, in terms of Yamaha, a lot of their championship chances is going to come down to what they do on a Saturday afternoon as well. Qualifying is going to be imperative for Yamaha in this 2021 season. If you're further back than row 2, life becomes very difficult.
Yeah, and life already quite difficult at the moment for Maverick Vinales. Some breaking news. He did a media scrum a few moments ago before this photo shoot. Unfortunately, his crew chief, Esteban Garcia, inconclusive COVID test. He's been isolating in the hotel, possibly not going to be back in this paddock until Saturday or maybe even Sunday. So not the ideal start for Maverick Vinales and his crew.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Matt.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the 2021 MotoGP World Championship? Now, we should just point out that me and Matt have been pretty awful at this over the last couple of years.
I mean, I hate this question because I just feel like straight out of the gate I'm going to be jinxing the person I'm going to name. It's incredibly difficult to pick a world champion in any of the 3 classes this year, but I don't know why. I think it all depends on whether he can stay fully fit. If he can, and if he can just cut out a couple of those unforced errors, I don't know why, I've got a real sneaking suspicion. If you really, really push my back against the wall, I'm going to go not for that young man, the world champion. I'm going to go for his teammate, Alex Rins.
Interesting one, but I can understand why you're going down that route. Simon, what about yourself? If we were to put Mr. Crafar on the spot.
I missed your question because I'm trying to grab a rider to talk to. I think I've got Fabio in a moment, but fire away because he's talking to someone else. What was it?
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one for you, Simon. Putting you on the spot here. If you had to pick a favourite for the championship right now.
Now, I've been put on the spot a couple of times recently. I refuse because it's just too hard. It's going to be like last year, you know. There's so many fast boys. At the end, I'm not going to give you a who. It's going to come down to, like last year, the boys who are consistent, stay on. There's going to be a few that smash out races, but I don't think they're going to be the one that wins the championship. So I don't know. I'm not going to answer, guys, because I genuinely don't know. I'm not going to make it up.
It is a tough one to call. Steve, you served it over to my way, mate, so I'm just going to whack it back over the net and go, right, OK, mate, your turn.
I could just do the same as Simon, to be honest, and just leave you out in the lurch on your own. I agree with both of you in terms of I think it's very, very difficult to call. I also think a lot of it depends on what sort of Marc Marquez we get, when we get him, and how strong he is when he returns.
100%.
However, I believe that Joan Mir is going to get stronger and stronger, and I think that if he can do that and add to his game from last year, if that's at all possible, that he just edges it for me.
So we're both backing blue,
which could be an absolute disaster for Suzuki, bearing in mind me and you have got these predictions so wrong. But in any case, Matt, I mean it's just a pleasure to be able to commentate on it. I don't care who wins, as long as we get some good racing, and I think that we're in for some showdown here in 2021.
Could not agree more with that one, mate. Looking forward to this one. Like I don't think I've looked forward to a season for many a one. Of course, these guys, at the back of their mind, they do know that imminent return. He desperately wants. Doctors just erring on the side of caution, giving him that extra month to complete his rehabilitation. But when he's back, beware, because there will be fireworks.
And you know, on Sundays here in Qatar, Matt, it doesn't always go by the book either. You know, the Ducati of Jack and the speed he's got off the line, even if he was to get into turn one in first, you know, long distance race here in Qatar, and so often we've seen quite slow pace at the start, which invites trouble.
That's the thing. I mean, Andrea Dovizioso's modus operandi has been to slow the pace down, keep his tyres for the last 5 laps. How will Jack Miller approach it? How will Maverick Vinales, Franco Morbidelli approach it? How will a certain Fabio Quartararo approach it? Of course, we're looking forward to seeing him on his official factory Yamaha debut here on Sunday night. I'm delighted to say, before he pops off back to the hotel, he's joined Simon Crayford down in pit lane. Simon.
Yeah, he is. He's got another interview to do, so I've only got one question. But Fabio, I'm really curious, how do you feel right now compared to 12 months ago?
Feel great. 12 months ago, I was in quarantine home, and now we're in Qatar, so big improvement. Hope it will go better for the health of everyone. But you know, it feels great to make the family pictures and yeah, finally start the race in Qatar. So I'm feeling so good, and can't wait to make the first race here.
Good luck, Fabio.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Fabio Quartararo. Let's hope there's no hangover from a real disastrous slump towards the back end of last season. What happened to Fabio Quartararo, having taken a maximum 50 points in those opening 2 Grand Prix in Jerez? His championship charge really did fall away, but you do know, if he clicks with that 2021 spec factory-wise RM1, Fabio Quartararo, expect to see him mount a more sustained title challenge this year.
Well, as we mentioned before, we're back, the same team, myself, Steve Day, Matt Burt, alongside me, Simon Crayford down in pit lane, Amy Reynolds is here in Qatar. The whole team were reunited yesterday. Fran Wild, Matt Dunn, Neil Morrison. We'll all be back to business here tomorrow for Free Practice 1. Of course, there's still a pre-event press conference to come this evening, the first of the year. But at 10 to 2 local time tomorrow, here, Friday, the 26th of March, Moto3 FP1. And the first MotoGP session of 2021 gets underway at 20 to 4 local time. Matt, I cannot wait. Let's get this party started.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, mate. Looking forward to sharing the booth with you again this year, mate. It's going to be red hot.
Yeah, let's go. We'll be here in the commentary box with you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us here today. Press conference still to come. Goodbye from Qatar.